Welcome to Jay and Chelle's Show and Tell podcast. We're here, everything is on the table except for politics. During this season, we will go over a variety of different topics that I'm sure you probably went through before, or maybe not. One thing's for sure, we will keep it fun, interesting, sexy, and most of all, we will keep it real. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to us. Your support is greatly appreciated. Let's get to it. Chelle, hello. How are you today?
Great, Jay. How are you?
I am good. First episode. I am very, very excited. Very excited to be working with you. I know we talked about this for 3, 4, 6 months or something like that. So it's definitely a pleasure to be working with you. How did you feel this morning when you got up and knowing that this was the first episode?
I felt anxious, but also very excited. So I'm really excited to be working on this project with you as well. Good.
So you recently moved to Michigan from Chicago.
That's right.
Welcome to the Great Lakes, Motor City. How is Michigan treating you so far?
I love Michigan, with the exception of the potholes. They are terrible here.
Right.
They're terrible.
For sure. So I wanted to go down a certain lane on this particular episode. Let's just go way back. Let's just say roughly about 10 years ago, during a time where, you can go out, have fun, meet people, experience different things. So can you tell me about a time where, let's just say you went to a bar, happy hour, and met someone that you may have thought you may have been interested in? How did that process go, like 10, 15 years ago, as far as the communication and things like that?
So you're talking a little bit before social media.
Yeah,
correct?
Just a little bit before social media. Well, there was always social media.
There's always been social media, but this is before it was probably such a big part of our lives.
Exactly.
So obviously there's two things.
Mm-hmm.
One is that you're less accessible, I feel like, to be found. Because I think the first thing people tend to do when they meet somebody new is to go look at their social media profiles.
Right.
So back then, you didn't have that ability. You had to get to know somebody like this in a conversation. So I think that's what made it a lot different and, in my mind, a lot easier.
Right, for sure. It's and that's actually, that was the excitement about it. You get to know a person. You call them.
You only get to text me if you have my number.
Exactly,
So, and I have to give it to you.
Exactly.
There's other ways now you can be found so easily.
Yeah. And the curiosity is there, right? I mean, you don't have access to their full life or the events they're doing on a daily basis. So if you wanted to find that information out, you had to call them or,
talk to them and have a conversation.
Talk to them and have a conversation. Exactly.
Imagine that.
I like to call that somewhat of the good old days when it comes to dating. Now, a lot of folks meet folks on social media without having any relation to them at all. You can go on a social media site or be part of a social media site and see someone that you may be interested in. Next thing you know, you're inboxing them or DMing them. I'll put it to you that way. So that's what we want to talk about today, right? Not as much as meeting someone on social media.
I was going to say, not necessarily meeting them online or on social media, but once you've met them and you're in a relationship.
Exactly.
That's what we're going to talk about today.
Right. So the question is, should couples be friends on social media?
The answer to that is so complicated. So
It's
I'm
very
glad
complicated.
you asked.
It's very complicated, and that's good. It's complicated because it just all depends on who you are, right? A lot of folks would say yes. A lot of folks would say no.
Most will, and I think most are friends on social
Exactly.
media. Why wouldn't you be?
Exactly.
What's funny is I have one, and I wouldn't even call him a friend, an acquaintance, a friend of a friend, who one time I asked him, because I noticed I was friends with his wife on social media, but he wasn't. And I said, why aren't you friends with so-and-so? And he's like, looked at me so matter of fact and said, she's my wife. She's not my friend. Why would I be friends with her? And I thought that was such a weird answer, but, I don't think their relationship is better for it, just them personally. But I think that there is something to following your significant other or being friends with them on social media that adds so much complexity to relationships these days. With that said, I've been doing some informal polls, if you will, males and females, younger and our age. What's funny is that younger people, they don't know life without social media at all. Like we know we've always had it in our adult lives, but it hasn't been so relevant. Young people, the younger people I spoke to were like, why wouldn't I be? Why wouldn't I follow them? Why wouldn't I be friends with them? So I thought that was really interesting that we know dating and relationships without, they don't.
Exactly. And I think that for the most part, again, I'm going to keep saying this, depending on who you are, it just all depends on your relationship with your partner, understanding who you're with, understanding the respect level or the boundary level, So I was thinking about a couple of different things, just by having conversations with some friends or some folks. Here's a question for you. What does a single profile look like, right? So let me break that down. So you could be on a social media site and you can have a relationship status, either married or single, or a lot of times no one will show their relationship status, right? So as a woman, in your mind, what would a single profile look like? Saying that there's no status on that particular person's profile.
I don't need to have an online relationship with my real life relationship or my person. But I do think that it's nice to have that validation once in a while. I'm not saying be plastered all over somebody's social media because I don't like that either. But if you're happy and you want others to know about it, I think why not share it? I'm one of those people that's always said I love love. I don't care if it's two females, two males, race, none of that matters to me. I just love when people find love and happiness. And in today's crazy world, if you can find that, why not share it? Mm-hmm. But I don't think that you have to. And I definitely think people who do overshare it may not be the happiest people out there. Right. They're overcompensating.
Right. And that's a great answer. So the way I look at it, right? So, and this is kind of funny. So, there's a couple on social media, right? Let's just say on Facebook. Mm-hmm. There's a couple. There's a guy and a woman that decides to share everything, and everything that I'm seeing. Like I'm like, oh, they're living their best life. They're so happy. They're so in love, and we know that social media, over 80%, everyone wants to show the good things, right? Mm-hmm. We're all human. We know things go on behind closed doors. However, now I feel like I'm invested with this particular couple. I'm looking at the pictures. I'm commenting. I'm liking. It's a beautiful thing. They've been together for 2 years, right? So I feel like we're all three of us in a relationship because now I'm all in. I'm all in. It's a post every day about something. So. And then, 2 years go by and all of a sudden they break up. Now I'm heartbroken because I'm like, what the hell? I can't even look at y'all anymore. So now I'm not in the relationship with you guys neither, if that makes sense, So it's more like me kind of somewhat being invested in what I'm seeing because you can get caught up on Facebook reading stories and this and that. So I can understand from a person's point of view when they don't want to plaster their mates or anything all over social media because no one can really predict the future. As you're with someone, you know you may want to be with them, but no one knows what's coming down the line, right? So if a person decides not to plaster their mates over on social media. I can totally understand that because you don't want to be that person that has a different person or girlfriend or boyfriend on social media. Like every year there's somebody new. Now it's almost like it's almost like painting a different picture of that person. There's so many judgmental people out here, right? So now it's like, okay, what's going on with this person? In other words, people are nosy, right?
People are nosy, but I think it just depends on the individuals and it depends on the couples. I don't think that, and I personally don't really care what other people think. I don't put any weight in that whatsoever. If someone thinks they're in a relationship with me and the person I'm in a relationship with, kind of odd, but I get what you're saying. You get invested in people, you see their happiness and you love it, but life is crazy. And I'm not a fan of we're so happy, look at us, constantly posting about yourselves and your relationships. But I always do say you post what you're proud of. And if you're proud to be with a person or proud to be in love with them or proud to share your life with them, even if it is temporarily, I don't see the issue with sharing that. And you don't have to specifically say I'm in a relationship with this person. If you have a photo and you like it and you want to post it or share it, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
And I absolutely agree with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. So yeah, I definitely get that perspective of it also. So at what point would you suggest, from a woman's perspective, that she should let the social media world know she's with a person?
Exactly 1 year. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't think there's a time frame for that. I think it's whenever those individual people are comfortable. It's your social media profile. It's your life that you're just displaying. So I think it's whenever those people are comfortable. I don't think there's a right time. Some people do it right away. I know some people are in relationships for a while before they'll share that. I think what it comes down to is, you said it earlier, that respect level that you have for the person you're in a relationship with. Just because someone appears or looks single while they're in their social media profiles, as long as they don't act like they're single or not in a relationship, and they have that respect and that etiquette that they would have. I mean, it's no different than me walking up to a guy at the gym who I think looks nice or looks good and says, "Hey, I love your outfit," or "Oh, you look good." If I'm in a relationship, I'm not going to do that, because that's not what someone in a committed relationship does. No different than online. I'm not going to walk or see a photo and say you look hot or put the fire emoji under it or a heart emoji, because that's not something that a person, I think, in a relationship should be doing.
Great. And that's going back to, there's a different respect or boundaries when it comes to social media. And we're having this conversation because we've talked to multiple people, and we've got so many different opinions on it. You know, one person say yes, it's okay. The other person say no, it's not okay. And then next thing you know, things are coming up about experiences they went through when it comes to social media. And that's why we're talking about this today. I mean, let's face it, we're not professionals in the social media world. No. We're just Jay and Chelle, and we're just giving our opinion about what we may think or input on what was basically told to us.
But as I was doing some research, social media is a huge part of our lives, at least for most people. When you consider all the different platforms that are out there, I mean, I'm on 3, 4, 5 different kinds of social media platforms. So it's a big part of your day. It's a big part of your life. And when I think one of the stats I saw was 20 to 25% of your waking hours are spent on social media in some form. And I thought that was crazy. And then I actually sat and thought about it, and I'm like, that's probably accurate for a lot of people. So I can see when, and I don't think it's specific to male or female. I can see when someone wants that validation. And again, to share that they found love, again, even if it's temporary, it doesn't have to be mean forever. But if they want to share that part of their lives, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I think communication is going to be key. You have to talk to each other. You have to have that communication, open lines. And if something bothers you that you're doing or not doing on social media, I think that should always be open for conversation, but it shouldn't rule your lives. Our lives are what we do, where we go, who we do it with. It It doesn't have to be on display. Some people choose to display it. I don't think it's necessary for me, but I do know that it's an important part of a lot of people's lives.
Right. Right. And speaking of just a little bit of research, I've done some also. And what I looked up was 1 out of 7 divorces is because of social media, which
I could
was,
see that.
Even though that may seem like a small number, but that's actually a huge number when you think of the entire aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? But it just all depends on what those particular situations were also when it comes to social media, what happened after that. I didn't dig that far because I didn't think I should have, dig that far.
Well, and some people tend to make something out of nothing when it comes to social media, and it's very easy to do that. It's so easy to fall down that like little trap door and make something that is nothing. I drive a Jeep Wrangler, and I'm in a Jeep girls group. And I got myself in some trouble a couple months ago. This woman posted in there, I don't know her, I have no idea who she is, posted in there that she was very upset with her significant other, her boyfriend, that he was liking and commenting on girls' photos. And there was probably 200 comments, and I didn't read them all, but they were all pretty much the same thing, going, ditch him, he's a dog, he's clearly cheating. And I'm like, I commented, did I miss something in this post? He's liking people's photos. Are they naked? Does he know these girls? Like, put some context around this, because if he's just simply liking females' photos, I didn't see the issue with that. Again, not knowing these people at all. But she was very upset about it. But my thing was communicate with him that this bothers you. Have a conversation. Just like any relationship, any issue in a relationship, you can't let social media or what someone's doing or not doing on social media affect it or impact it. But it's very difficult to not. I get it. It's such a big part of our lives today that it's really hard not to let that impact you. Yes. So I took some heat from that post, though, because everyone was like, well, what's wrong with you that you don't think that you're not siding with us? And I needed more information. I couldn't just make a judgment. Probably shouldn't have commented after all, but I can't make a judgment just on liking. Now, with that said, we were going to talk a little bit about, I think, etiquette when you're in a relationship on social media. And I think there's a lot of things, again, no different than real life, that you should follow when you're on social media. And maybe it's the same girl's photo he's liking every day, or photos. Maybe it's the same girl he's commenting on, or she's commenting on his. That can be an eye opener for some people. That can make you question, well, who is this person and why are they constantly liking you and you liking them? But then again, have a conversation, have that communication. And I think it's okay to ask somebody that you're in a relationship with, like, well, who's this person and how do you know them? And why do they like you every day? So right. I think that's a fair conversation to have without being accusatory, and then don't be defensive. That's easier said than done.
Right. Right. So just a little tip for the fellas, you have a like button on social media, and then you have a heart button on social media. So if your girlfriend or your significant other may have certain issues, just make sure you hit the thumbs up, not the heart.
Preach.
Right. So
females notice those love buttons. Don't you?
Right,
don't
right,
mix
it
up.
For sure. And guys do too. So I definitely get that. So is there anything like from a male's perspective that you may want to know?
I'd like to know, what do you think as a male in a relationship? What are some boundaries or etiquette? Obviously for both people. What are some like do's or don'ts, or what are some things that you should or should not be doing if you're in a relationship on social media? What's okay?
That's a tough question because everybody thinks differently, right? Sure. It still goes back to who you're with. Do you know the communication level and things like that? Because you can be with someone who just doesn't care about social media, and I guess you can feel like you could do whatever. You know what I'm saying? But to answer your question, some of the do's and don'ts, I would say,
probably more don'ts than do's. Let's say that.
So don'ts and do's. I probably have inappropriate conversations through direct messaging. Even though a lot of times direct messaging can be private to the account holder, sometimes a female may have access to her boyfriend or husband's social media, so she has access to all that, and vice
Don't
versa.
forget, you can screenshot all of that too.
Yes,
So
yes, for sure.
it may be private to you now,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
you may say or do something that you think is in private later can become not so private.
Oh,
so
yeah, for sure.
I think that's why definitely inappropriate conversations, whether it's on like in the open on social media or direct messaging, I totally agree.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I would say the direct messaging, you want to keep that clean. Another don't as a guy.
No thirst trapping. You know what that is?
Thirst trapping. No, explain it to me, Michelle. What is thirst trapping?
You don't know what it is?
No, I do. I do know what it is. I would also say, or even just you don't want to call females through social media if you're in a relationship and your significant other don't know about it. And when I say call, meaning calling through social media, because let's face it, no matter what site you're on now, you can call anybody right through the site. So other than that, why don't you tell me what's some don'ts that you think that guys shouldn't do from a female's perspective?
I think it's just common sense. Again, if you're in a relationship with me and you don't want me to do that, then you shouldn't do it either.
Exactly.
So whether it's commenting, messaging, loving someone's photo every day, or them loving yours, I think that this is the normal boundaries that you would set in life apply to social media. The difference is social media, like you can find pretty much anything someone's doing. So just being cautious of that, using your common sense and again, not doing something that you wouldn't want the other person you're in a relationship with to do to you. So, and provocative content, I guess, unless you're in a business or industry where that's okay. Like if you're a swimsuit model, well then fine, post those photos. But if you're not, and you're constantly posting those to get attention or to get males to inbox you, then I don't think that's appropriate.
Right.
So I think, again, it's just all about common sense and what you should or shouldn't be doing in life. You definitely should be doing on social media.
And I get that also. So, and this goes back to what I said at the top of the show, right? When I said when social media wasn't that huge, I went through a situation where I cut off social media for about 2 years. I didn't even miss it. Like I literally did not miss it at all. So when I cut it off, that made me feel a little bit more invested in my relationship. Not saying that I wasn't invested before, but think about it, right? You're in a relationship, you go out to dinner, folks on their phone, right? You're sitting at home watching TV, the couple's on their phone.
There's a lot of distractions and temptations.
A lot of distractions
that come along with social media. There's a lot of good things too. I mean, I always joke that, well, if it's online, it must be true. And the same can apply for relationships. If I have an online relationship, I must be happy and it must be true, but it doesn't always mean that.
Right.
I do get all my news from Twitter. I will say that, but it doesn't mean it's true news.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's good news. But I think, a lot of what we're talking about has somewhat of a negative connotation. Tell me something good about being friends with or following or posting about your significant other on social media. I want to know something that's good about it.
What's good about it is you feeling good about it. At the end of the day, you're posting who you're with. You're posting the family, whether it's the kids and the wife, and you feel good about it. You want to share with the world your experiences or where you're at, and folks like to see that. Just like I said, I love to see this one couple every day online, and then I was heartbroken when they broke up. So there's a lot of good things about being friends with your significant other. So keep in mind, me personally, I don't have a problem with letting the world know who I'm with, right? I have no problem with that. When we ask the question of should couples be friends on social media, me personally, I think so. Yeah, I have no problem with it, but that you're going to have to answer that question for yourself. I don't know what may work in your relationship, but this works in mine. And I've never not been friends with anybody that I was with. So I actually think they should be friends. But there's also folks out there, as we know, that are friends that should not be friends, and for the simple fact that it damages the relationship. You know what I'm saying? So going back to what I was saying, I deleted social media for a couple years. I was with someone who didn't necessarily like social media. I got off of it, did what she wanted me to do. But come to find out, even though I've gotten off of it, invested more in the relationship still didn't work out. You know, it was weird, but that's just the way it go. And that's going back to me saying that no one can predict the future, right? You never know what's going to happen in the future. You're with someone, your plans is to be with that person, but different things can come up. I guess what I'm saying is I truly believe that a site or social media should not damage a relationship if the relationship is strong enough, if you know your partner, if you know the boundaries, if you have that level of respect
and trust.
Then
you have to trust your partner to act
trust,
appropriately.
Exactly. So at that point, then I think it shouldn't be a problem. But unfortunately, in today's world, it's a huge problem. You know,
I agree, but people let it, and just like anything else, it doesn't have to even be social media. You can let the neighbor become a problem. You can let the dog down the street become a problem. You can let someone you meet at a bar become a problem. So that's why it is. I think I agree with you. People should follow or be friends on social media, but I think, as long as that communication, respect, and trust level is there, just like in life and anything else that you do, then I think, people don't need outside influences in their relationships with what they're trying to build. Social media can become that. So you have to just be very careful. You have to trust that person. And again, know those boundaries and communicate. That's the key.
It's actually kind of hard to not be friends with your significant other, because a great percentage of folks meet other folks on social media. So at what point does it get frustrating for the couple? Do we know that as a woman, if you've met someone on social media and you guys became a couple, at what point do you think that social media could be a problem? But I think you broke that down a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think it could be a problem, and it's a great question, but I'm going to answer your question with a question.
Okay.
Do you think that someone should be friends with, and I say friends because I don't have 2,000 friends or whatever. I mean, a lot of them are acquaintances. Some are people I know from work. Some are people I know from a nonprofit, so a charity. So there's a lot of different friends, but I don't know all these people that well. But do you think it's okay to be friends with or follow somebody that you've dated or been in a relationship with previously?
I think it's okay and it's not okay. And let me break down that answer. I think it's okay if you and that person has moved past your relationship. There is there's nothing lingering there. Because it could be a lot of different situations. If you had a child with that particular ex, right?
Right. I totally understand that, because from that point of view, and sorry to cut you off, but I think definitely if you had a child with somebody and you'd want to be friends with them to know if they're posting about your child, and some people have rules about that. So you want to make sure that your ex is following those rules. So, and then this is my question is because is to answer yours, that's where I think it can become a problem. I mentioned temptation earlier. There's just too much of it in life, but especially on social media. So that's why I feel like if there's someone that you've dated or been in a relationship with, I get what you're saying if you move past it, but do you still think there's additional temptation or something there that could interfere or interact with your relationship if you still remain in contact or friends with that person? And I get it. You can text or call that person. You don't have to be friends with them on social media. But, another one of the stats that I did read is that people typically will meet, go on a date or two, and they instantly do connect on social media. So at what point do you unconnect or disconnect or don't you?
Right. Yeah. And going back to the first question, it just all depends on what level what level you are at with your particular ex. And let's face it, a great percentage of folks who break up, right, the first thing they're doing is deleting that person, right? They're going to delete them. They're going to delete all the pictures. They're going to delete every little gram of history that you guys have created, right? But if you break up on a mutual agreement and you feel that, oh, it's better off that we are just friends, then I think that's safe enough to be friends on Facebook.
Do you think it's okay to still be friends on
Yeah,
Facebook or on Instagram and still interact in that way?
Yeah, especially if you guys broken up on a mutual agreement, you went your way and he went his way. But again, if it's a breakup where it was just like very bad, the first thing the person is going to do is just start deleting everything in their history. They don't want anyone to know anything that's going on, you know what I'm saying, or feel that they're still with this particular person. So they're just going to delete them. And that goes back to, I keep going back to the beginning of the show when I said that, you know, you get invested with folks on social media. I have a friend on social media 4 months ago, loved her life. And then there was literally a post yesterday that stated something along the lines of, well, he messed up. Now I ain't with him no more. And all the pictures and everything's gone after 4 months, you know? So, it just all depends on how you and your partner, separate and or break up.
Sure. But that's someone who maybe puts too much of their personal life out in social media. But again, it's up to the individual person. Exactly. If you want to post everything about your life or if you want to be a little bit more guarded. I choose to be a little bit more guarded. All right. But it is for no reason. And I think a lot of times what you've gone through in the past, like you mentioned your past relationship where you went off social media and it wasn't, you know, a right fit. I think that's where people tend to get a little carried away. Right. If we're posting our personal relationship and lives, you said people are nosy, people are also judgy. They can be. So I think people will tend to fill in the blanks or the gaps, like, oh, well, what's happening with this? They haven't posted a photo together in a couple of weeks. And so I think there's definitely a balance that should be that reached for a couple. For sure. Of over posting or over communicating or not. For sure. Jay, do you think it's appropriate for someone who's in a relationship or in a couple to have a secret social media profile? And if so, why would they have one, or why would that be? Oh, hell no. Let's just make this real clear. Now, this is so like clean cut. If you are with someone, you should not have a separate social media page. You know, my name is Jeremy J. Mason on my Facebook page. I'm not going to have another page that just says JJ Mason or something like that, you know? So I just think that's highly disrespectful if you're a guy or a girl that does that, you know? And that's just my opinion. There shouldn't be additional social media pages. And I also think that there shouldn't be you can be within social media and then be within certain groups also. I agree. Being in certain groups, in my mind, and this is just me, I'm not speaking for everybody. In my mind, I also think that depending on what the group is, then you shouldn't be in that particular group neither. You know what I'm saying? I agree. You shouldn't be in dating groups if you're in a relationship. Pretty much. You were previously in dating groups, probably should leave them unless it's a funny group that you met in and you want to stick around for the memes. Exactly. Then it's okay. Exactly. Other than that, I think definitely you shouldn't be in singles or dating groups if you're in a relationship, just like I shouldn't be on Tinder or any other type of app that if I'm in a relationship, common courtesy and common sense says you stop doing those things. Exactly. But do you want to know every single group that your significant other is in? Cooking groups and food groups, and there's girl groups, different, types of things. I don't think you have to know every single thing about your person. Right. As long, again, as you trust that person to do the right thing. For sure. And have that respect. For sure. And basically, in closing, it all comes down to who you are, what you believe in. Again, this is just my opinion. This is just your opinion. I'm going to be friends with my partner on social media. There's a certain level of respect. There's certain boundaries that, of course, we both would abide by.
So at the end of the day, know your partner. You know, this is my opinion. Know your partner, know what you're dealing with, communicate with your partner. And social media, it wouldn't be a problem, or it shouldn't enter the relationship as a problem. You know, and that's why I went back in the day without social media, because back in the day, you invested within your partner. There was no distractions. These days in 2022, it can become a full distraction, or it can be something also good for you and your partner. So I'm not speaking bad on it.
That's
Basically,
the intention, right? It's to connect people and keep and bring people together. And I love that you can stay in contact with older friends or friends that you had from the past that you don't really text or call on a regular basis. That's great to keep connected, see what's going on in their lives. But I agree, you have to set those boundaries and do what's right for your individual relationship and the people that are in it.
Good. Michelle, that was a great episode 1. And I'm pretty sure that it's just going to get better and better. Actually, I guarantee the folks that it will get better and better.
We have a lot to say.
We have a lot to say. We have
a lot of opinions.
A lot of topics coming up this season. Couple different special guests also coming up.
We have a lot of topics that we're very excited about. This was like our fun first episode. I found it fun. I don't know if you did, but we do have a lot more to talk about.
Sure. And again, Michelle, thank you so much. It's a pleasure doing this with you today. And thank you folks out there for listening, and see you next time.
Thank you.